With genetic genealogy, we can see secrets, help adopted families. For good or bad, there's also a group finding criminals. And in fact, one of the lead geneticists that's been one of our big partners is doing a criminal division there. Beginning in 1994, DNA was used to ID skeletons found in Russia as those of the Romanov family. Does anybody have any idea where the living relative came from? It was actually Prince Phillip. Prince Phillip is actually a great-great-great-grandson of Queen Victoria. His line married into the Denmark royalty. Prince Phillip was from Denmark. The second big case was showing the genetic match between a male relative of Thomas Jefferson. You've all heard about that now, Sally Hemings, one of her great-grandsons. By 2000, the implications of DNA testing became clear. Two companies started making it commercially available. Family Tree in Houston and Oxford Ancestors in England. By the fall of 2007, 23andMe began offering first commercial DNA tests. Followed in 2012, Ancestry launched its DNA. So Ancestry is kind of the new one to the group. DNA is a component of the cell that carries the instructions for the development and operation of all living things. A small percentage of the DNA comprises the genes. Short segments, and we'll talk about this more, of DNA are used as the blueprints to create a protein. This is what genetics zeroes in on. A molecule of DNA is composed of a string of millions of smaller units. Together, the two intertwine to create that double helix that you see. A normal human cell has 92 long molecules of DNA that pair up to form 46 double-stranded chromosomes. Each of these, in turn, form a pair similar, but not identical, to chromosomes. They talk about creating pairs. They have to do it manually. What they do is they put a dye in so that it picks up all the strands. And you can see they pair them up based on their length. And then they put them in order manually. So we've got 22 pairs. Then we have what we call the sex gene, which is the X and Y. And then over in the corner, you see this little circle, and this is the mitochondrial DNA. That's the powerhouse. You've got the definitions of each of the different tests. So in a mitochondrial is, like I showed you, a small circular piece of DNA felt in the energy factory. This is the only DNA not found in the nucleus of the cell. mtDNA is passed exclusively from mother to child. They sometimes call it the umbilical cord. And Y chromosome focuses obviously on the male's sex chromosome. Only men have Y DNA, and that will reveal information the male test taker from father to son. AtDNA is composed of pairs of chromosomes found in the nucleus of the cell. Humans have 23 pairs, like we talked about, 46 total, and one is the sex chromosome. One copy of each chromosome is inherited from mother and one copy from father. An AT test will reveal information about both sides. So even though you didn't take a Y, if the testing company, and we're going to compare tests, does the AT DNA, the autosomal, you'll still be able to pick up information. The X chromosome is not really tested. It's kind of picked up in the AT and in the mitochondrial DNA. So that's really what they focus on the tests. There are two family trees. One is genealogy and one is genetics. Understanding and interpreting the DNA results in two different but overlapping family trees. One will reflect family relationships, and one will have a genetic makeup pattern of the inheritors of our DNA. The genetic family tree is ancestors who pass DNA. Not everyone in the genealogy family tree contributes a segment of their DNA to test takers. Bits and pieces are lost with each generation. And we're going to talk about that a little more too. Now, I gave you all copies of what a mitochondrial DNA would look like. This is a tree passed from mother to all of her children. So in this case, Joan, who's at the top, descendants have her mtDNA, but you'll see on her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ancestors there. That's not going to be picked up because they didn't connect. Here's a Y, a picture of a Y. And in this case, the Y is passed on from the father to the males. But down here in C, we see that 3 and 4, because there was an interruption, 3 and 4 have the Y, but 1, 2, and 5 do not, because there was a female in between. Does it mean that they wouldn't show up on the mitochondrial or the autosomal? Okay, here we've got a picture of the autosomal DNA. In this case, Riley inherits half of his parents' DNA. Now we're getting into the mechanical and computer numbers when they run these tests. And down here at the bottom you can see. So Raleigh inherits 25 from his grandparents, 12 and a half from his great-grandparents, and then when you get down to great-great-great-grandparents, it's only 6.25%. We have Exhibit D here, which shows us how they calculate these numbers. And you'll see how they've broken it out, and the red boxes actually are showing the percentage. And this is what the computer is telling you when you get your DNA test. You can predict what percentage of DNA you're likely to share with relatives based on the AT-DNA inheritance. Now, here's something really important. This happens, this recombination. Okay. One important factor to consider when taking the ATDNA test and interpreting the results of the process called recombination. At the time the sperm and the egg meet, immediately they're replicating the cells. So you can see in figure E here, DNA recombines. Inheritance patterns can drastically affect which X DNA. I want you to look at, we've got three tests here. We've got R, Q, and we've got S. Okay. R is Ancestry. This is what the report looks like when you get Ancestry will suggest matches to you. The first one is saying this is first, second cousin. And it also will show you a family tree. That doesn't mean you can necessarily see it, because you have somebody who will share only the X. But you won't know that without the historical records that you've already done. Family tree tests X and compares it to the database. Only reports if matches on ATDNA. This is what you would see if you did gen match and did a surname. You wanted to put your DNA out there to see how it compares. And up here in the corner, it's just like what we looked at with Raleigh. The grandparents 25, the mother is 12 and a half. And then you're going to see here, first cousin once removed, second cousin once removed. Now let's talk a little bit here about selecting what kind of test you want to take. I love this little chart, because it helps you decide which company you want to do based on what you want. Are you looking for your father? Are you looking for a mother? Are you looking for cousins? And I just got finished doing a research for a lady who found out she was adopted. She didn't find out until like her mother and father. Now this to me is a miracle. Here they're talking about, again, this is a test, and here they pick the chromosome. The starting location here was 242 million. The ending location, 247 million. So they're pinpointing that. There's a third party that's come into the testing arena. This one's raw data testing. This is taking raw test data from the three companies. GenMatch is one of the most popular. It is free, people. It's free. I've given you a copy of what the login page looks like. You go on there, you fill out a free account, you tell them the kit number. It came from Ancestry, it came from Family Tree, it came from 23andMe. And each company has an initial in front of the kit. Okay. In the process of assigning a test taker's DNA, one or more populations, they compare it to one or more populations around the world based on computerized comparisons of those segments to reference populations. The test taker's DNA segments are assigned to the reference population. The goal is to identify where the test taker's DNA was found between 5 500 and 1,000 years ago. Researchers utilize DNA from people who are reasonably certain all four grandparents were from a specific location. So I've given you the database here. 23andMe uses 10,000 people from various populations around the world. Ancestry has a reference table of more than 3,000 samples from 26 global regions. GenMatch also can give you an ethnicity report. Here is a copy of 23andMe has done, and they do this with the chromosome browser. And both Family Tree and Ancestry does it with a little map, and is giving you the little clouds over the map. GenMatch looks like this. It's another browser. And for each color, it gives you where that color showed up along your chromosome. You're not going to know who that chromosome came from 400 or 500 years